I almost couldn't take it all in. It was overwhelming in the sense of, wow, this is a lot of stuff, and this is going to be maybe deeper than what I had even expected it to be.
I had a Jeopardy level knowledge, right, of the civil rights, having, gone to school in the 60s and 70s.
So there was a lot of unknowns and things that I wasn't sure about. I had no idea who was even on this bus with me.
And so you get on the bus and it's like you're excited to meet all these people and I'm new to Berea.
I started seeing people come in and I was like, oh look, friends. Oh, I know some of these people. Oh, there's a lot of people I don't know. I guess I'm gonna make friends.
I'm new, I'm excited. Who are these people? Where are we going? What are we gonna see? I don't even know what we're gonna discuss, right? And I think that had a lot of excitement.
I went on this tour to equip myself to have conversations with people that look more like me, who perhaps have different perspectives on social justice or rights or the ways that we all should live on this earth together. And I needed to be able to say to them, it's not just a gut thing. I have this gut feeling that I really disagree with you because I don't think it's right. But here's all this information as to why I disagree with you and why I think you should listen to these other perspectives.
This idea, at first I was overwhelmed. So we go and see something, it's overwhelming. Then we're on the bus and we talk about it, and then we watch more documentaries and movies about it, and it was a barrage. And at first I really wasn't sure I was going to be able to keep up with it all.
I'm genuinely have a practice of approaching these kinds of spaces as open-heartedly and open-mindedly as possible. I try to approach these kinds of experiences with minimal expectation, I think, which is not to say that that is in any way disconnected from deeply held practices, understandings, principles, relationships.
We went to many, many spaces. They started to impact us almost viscerally, emotionally, physically, not just intellectually.
When you're given raw footage, day after day after day, when you're provided the opportunity to speak with civil rights leaders, right? We're talking people who were 11 years old. We're talking people who were teenagers. You have everyday people, kids, elders, going to march, going to fill the jails, going to do these sit-ins, sitting in at the lunch encounters. And when you're given information like that, it's just hard. It's difficult to try to deny something like the civil rights movement.
I did a lot of just like writing and bullet points in my book as I was kind of just learning things and taking them in and trying to process.
I didn't get the education that I thought I did about history and Black history and being here in America. It's kind of a wow moment.
There is still a kind of distance when you're sitting in the archive, right? You're looking at a ledger, you're reading reports, you try to imagine these things, but there is always a distance that is kind of like mediated by the page. What does it mean to intellectually process something and to bodily experience something or to emotionally experience something?
Honestly, before this, I didn't really knew that civil rights movement was not just for African American, it's actually for all people of colors. I was not aware about that.
I've never been involved in an experience like this and an interracial experience like this.
We were studying history of social justice movements. The history of that is informative to what we're moving into right now, which is people are still having their rights taken away. People are still being marginalized. People are still being oppressed. And the playbook is similar to what it was then.
I think a large portion of it is definitely white guilt. And it is weaponized to stop further discussion and action.
And fear is a natural human emotion, right? Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of people we don't understand, fear of our way of life being different.
The people are afraid of losing what they have. If the blacks gain something, if the Mexicans gain something, if the X gains something, they lose.
What struck me over and over and over again was how that fear manifested itself not only in violence, but in what I saw as cowardice. Hiding behind weapons, hiding behind dogs, hiding on top of horses, hiding inside a mask. And again, seeing some of the same things today, thinking we've got to have better ways to deal with our fears.
One of the things that we've talked about within the admissions space is how we are not an HBCU, meaning we are not a historically black college or university, but we are a historically integrated college or university, meaning that from the beginning, the heart of John G. Fee was that black and white men and women would be educated here. From day one, that's what he wanted for this institution. Knowing that our very core and our very purpose was to be open to that idea of being in coalition interracially from the beginning, I think allows us to radically continue to be that way.
Coalition isn't everybody doing the exact same thing. Coalition in many ways is saying, this is what I can bring to this conversation. This is what I can bring to this movement, to this cause, to this initiative. So I'm going to bring what I can bring, and I'm going to dovetail that with what you bring, and we're going to work together. I can't do what you do. I can't do the thing that you do, and maybe you can't do what I can do. And that's the beauty of a coalition, is me understanding my role, what I can bring to that conversation, and how that fits with what somebody else can bring to that conversation. And then us moving together with a kind of ultimate aim to do that.
I think across any difference, that's something we all could use help cultivating. How do we hear each other? How do you not react? How do we realize that we may not reach consensus on everything, but can we find a way that everyone at least feels like they've been heard, really heard? Because I think that's one thing we've been trying to do, but maybe not doing a good job with. People still feel unheard.
The tour really provided context for those of us that work at the college to not just be allies to those movements, but to be advocates for those movements, to actually progress those conversations further and help those people that are being marginalized or oppressed or taken advantage of in some ways.
That can go as simple as me deferring. That can go as simple as me recognizing what does my white voice in this white space sound like versus am I giving space to another voice in this white space.
I also, campus-wide, have people now that I feel like I could have those conversations with when I need to or when the campus needs to. I would feel safe talking to most of the folks who are on that tour.
This trip informs so much of my future classroom. Nonviolent direct action is really teaching me it doesn't have to be the same thing. Everyone doesn't have to be on the same page, honestly, as long as we get to the end of the book and the end of the book is the same page, right?
How do we achieve equality? Like, that's a huge question. There's many, many possible answers. Some of those answers will be better than others. Some will be right answers, some will be wrong answers. But like, as human beings, we constantly should be striving to tackle those most difficult and most thorny questions. What do we do with this knowledge? How can we move towards action? How can we move towards healing? How can we move towards today, making sure this history is not forgotten, making sure that we know elements of this history are still alive. We still need solutions now. how do we continue to think? How do we continue to act into the future together?